something catastrophic happened here. What makes this even more puzzling is that many of the statues have burn marks on them.
I'll tell you the secret of what destroyed Tanis. Recently, quite a few content creators have put out videos about Tanis, this mysterious city in northern Egypt that was completely destroyed and burnt and seemingly destroyed by a cataclysm. But so far, none of them have an answer of why. I do. Tanis was destroyed by a cosmic weather event very similar to the Tunguska explosion, but on a much larger scale. These events happened approximately the Middle to Late Bronze Age and leveled cities across the Middle East and Northern Africa. And what did the Egyptians themselves say about it? They called it the Destroyer, or Doomshape. And I have a translation of a papyrus that talks all about it. The Doomshape, called the Destroyer in Kemet, was seen in all the lands thereabouts. In color it was bright and fiery. In appearance it was changing and unstable. It twisted about itself like a coil, like water bubbling in a pool from an underground supply, and all men agree that it was a most fearsome sight. It was not a great comet or a lucent star, being more like a fiery body of flame. The Doomshape thundered sharply in the heavens and shot out bright lightnings. The channels of water were turned back into themselves when the land tilted, and great trees were tossed about and snapped like twigs. Then a voice like 10,000 trumpets was heard over the wilderness, and before its burning breath the flames parted. The whole of the land moved and mountains melted. The sky itself roared like 10,000 lions in agony. The bright arrows of blood sped back and forth across its face. Earth swelled up like bread upon the hearth. This was the aspect of the Doomshape called the Destroyer, when it appeared in days long gone by in olden times. It is thus described in the old records, few of which remain. It is said that when it appears in the heavens above, earth splits open from the heat like a nut roasted before the fire. Then flames shoot up through the surface and leap about like fiery fiends upon black blood. The moisture inside the land is all dried up. The pastures and cultivated places are consumed in flames, and they and all the trees become white ashes. These are things said of the Destroyer in the old records. Read them with solemn heart, knowing that the Doomshape and its appointed time will return. There is much more in these papyri that I can't get to in one video. The story talks about how Egypt went into complete disarray, that everybody was terrified, that there were these events happening in the heavens, and there was fire and brimstone. You couldn't breathe the air. It would burn your lungs. That the place was looted by the Hapiru, who took off into the wilderness, and Pharaoh took his army and gave chase, and they were eventually hit by a tidal wave. Pharaoh's own son was killed in the destruction of a temple that collapsed and crushed his skull. Now, these should sound familiar to you, because you've heard a version of these events told from the point of view of the looters. But I can assure you the story of the Egyptians, from their point of view, is much more solemn and thoughtful. Now, I know all the pseudo-intellectual historian types out there are going to jump down my throat about this faster than you can say crippling student loan debt, but there is quite a bit of actual scientific evidence that this did happen. Yet, curiously, they don't talk about it. In this article from Phys.org, it says a meteor may have exploded in the air 3,700 years ago, obliterating communities near the Dead Sea. And that evidence gathered at Tel Hammam in Jordan tells the story of the event when the meteor airburst occurred. And here's the actual published paper. A Tunguska-sized airburst destroyed Tel Hammam, a Middle Bronze Age city in the Jordan Valley near the Dead Sea. And they present evidence that in 1650 BC, a cosmic airburst destroyed Tel Hammam, a Middle Bronze Age city in southern Jordan Valley, northeast of the Dead Sea, and it melted shit, destroyed shit, and basically everything I'm telling you here. What these papers are telling you is right around the time when Tanis was destroyed, there was an airburst event that was 1,000 times more powerful than the Hiroshima atomic bomb. It destroyed cities in the Middle East just north of the Dead Sea. And the reality it was part of a very large event that obliterated Northern Africa and the Middle East. Northern Africa used to be very lush. It had trees, rivers, it was very beautiful, and that was all wiped out and burnt. And this event may even have been the origin of the legendary Rishat structure. So no, Tanis was not destroyed by Greek fire. That's just silly. What the reality is Egypt was destroyed, and during that calamity it was looted, and that loot was taken north, and that formed the funding for what later became the church, and that there is a definite agenda to try to keep that reality covered up. There is so much more to this story that completely changes the narrative. So if you'd like me to read more of the Egyptian accounts of their own words of what happened, share some of the scientific material, jump in the comments and let me know. And be sure to check out the work of Beyond Ancient, who I sourced from at the beginning of this video. He does great work.